Kamala Harris is losing the campaign for the presidency right now. She simply is. And no, I'm not going off a poll number. So did you see this poll? What about that poll? Did you see that? It's not that. You know, if you pay attention to campaigns, they'll tell you if they're winning, if they're losing, who they think they're behind with. You can tell by where they spend their time and where they spend their money. Honestly, campaigns are very similar to you, to me. What do you truly value? What do I truly value? Well, where do you spend your time? Where do you spend your money? That's what you truly value. Now, the Harris campaign. The View, they're going on The View. Don't worry, we have some clips of things. The View, Stephen Colbert, 60 Minutes, Howard Stern. Wait a minute. Let's be clear about this. Election day is when? Not a month from now. It's right now. Because of early voting in this country and the importance of early voting and how many people vote early, Election day is today and tomorrow and the next day. It's every day between now and the official election day. The election is now. It is happening right now. And if you're Kamala Harris, you should be in a place where you're banking on certain things. You're banking on certain voting coalitions. You know, the people who watch The View, they're all a bunch of crazy liberal white women. They're the most committed communists in the United States of America. That's the audience of The View. Why in the world would she be going on The View? Stephen Colbert, why would she be doing these things? Well, it tells you all you need to know. Whatever the public poll numbers are or public perception is, the Kamala Harris campaign is a failing campaign as of right now. I'm not saying she's going to lose. I hope she will. I think she will. But right now they're failing, and they know they're failing. So they're trying to shore up a coalition they should already have. But here is the problem. And honestly, I know this is going to sound weird. Don't think I've gone soft on you. I almost feel bad for her staffers and her advisors. They're all dirty commies, so I don't really feel bad, but I almost feel bad because just like we used to talk about when Joe Biden was trying to run again, you can cover and you can fake and you can lie and you can splice up a little video for Instagram here and you can run a propaganda campaign there and you can do all these things. And they have been doing all these things. You can do all that. But at some point, you need the candidate to perform. You need the candidate to perform. Think about it like boxing. Everyone knows about boxing. I'm not saying you're a boxing expert. Maybe you are, but everyone knows what it is, right? And so leading up to a major fight, you want this major fight to go well for your fighter. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can buy all kinds of media to get the crowd on his side. You can play it up at the press conference. You can do everything you can to anger the other guy. You can surround him with the best trainers, the best people, the most film study, the best strategy sessions, and all these things can help and they can make a difference. But in the end, ding, ding, you got to go fight. And if your fighter can't fight, there's very little you can do to overcome that. Kamala Harris is sitting down for friendly interviews. She knows the questions that are going to be asked ahead of time, and she answers questions about the border like this.
There was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers today, because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
But should you
we
have done
cut
that?
the flow of fentanyl by half. But we need Congress to be able to act to actually fix the problem.
Look, I'm not even going to be partisan about this. Maybe you're one of the dirty commies who watches this show. If you're watching that, is that person ready to become president of the United States of America? She says, of course not. It's a disaster. She was asked about the economy. Remember, every single poll shows immigration and inflation, essentially the economy, as being the top issues for voters. Republican, independent, Democrats hate the country, so we're not going to count them. But Republicans, independents, more specifically, they're worried about inflation and immigration. Democrats just want to murder their babies. That's all they care about. So we'll talk about independents right now. If you're someone sitting at home, maybe you personally don't like Donald Trump, he's too this, he's too that, I get all that. Maybe you're sitting there, maybe you have your ballot in hand. Remember, people have their ballots in hand right now. Today's election day. And you're stressing about your wife just got home from the grocery store. She couldn't afford groceries. You're worried about making the rent. And you see Kamala Harris ask the question about the economy on 60 Minutes, and she answers the question like this. How can you vote for her?
That your economic plan would add $3 trillion to the federal deficit over the next decade. How are you going to pay for that?
Okay, so the other economists that have reviewed my plan versus my opponent and determined that my economic plan would strengthen America's economy, his would weaken it.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about.
She can't do it. She can't fight. All the fluff, all the puff, all the managers, all the press conferences, all the everything, she can't do it. And here's something else. We have to show you this from The View. Campaigns have been shrunk is how I would probably describe it. And this is what I mean by campaigns being shrunk, not necessarily time frame wise, but most people don't consume the news in the traditional way they used to. You get home, long day, you have dinner, sit down, you turn on NBC, ABC, CBS. That's a very old school way of thinking. You're watching The First right now. I bet you there's a 50-50 chance you're not even on a television. You, of course, can watch The First on TV, but maybe you're sitting here right now watching on your phone. Maybe it's on your iPad while you're working out. People consume the news on demand in their own way now. So what that means for candidates is campaigns have been shrunk to either promote or avoid 15 to 30-second sound bites. That's the idea around a campaign. Either you have this money line, even if everything else was dumb, and that's what you want to go viral, so I'll be watching it. Oh my gosh, it's on Facebook. Or you want to avoid the disastrous line that will go viral and everyone will be playing it. Kamala Harris has a problem. She's Joe Biden's vice president. People in this country, not me, but people personally like Joe Biden. I hate him. Set that aside. But they despise his policies. They're very, very unhappy. She got asked about what she would do differently. This is the 15 seconds she couldn't afford.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
It is what? What time is it? Is it like 9 o'clock Eastern time? 9, 10, 9:15? I don't know. I don't have a clock in here. By now, I would bet money the Trump campaign already has that little 10, 15-second clip going everywhere across the internet. Probably they've already purchased TV ads. What a disaster she is. I'm not even going to say it made you uncomfortable because I love it. I'm right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.